Hello everyone, welcome to my online classroom. Today we are going to complete the revision portion of class 10 Geography chapter 1 Resources and Development. So let's start. Let's see all the important things and all the important points which we have to discuss here and what we have to remember for our exam time. So here first of all name of the chapter is Resources and Development. So of course we have to know the meaning of resources and development. Just like the meaning of the resources is given in this para. Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it's technologically accessible, economical feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as resource. So in this way, in a simple way, we can say the things which is present in our nature and those things which can be used to satisfy human needs, all those things are known as the resource. And by adding these three words also we can make our definition lengthy. Like those things should be technological accessible, we can easily access them, economical feasible, they should be affordable, and culturally acceptable. Everyone is going to be accept those resources, no one have any problem to use them. So now next we have resources various on the basis of different types. We have here the classification of the resources, which is the important topic which is be given here. Like first, on the basis of origin, we have biotic and abiotic. Next, on the basis of exhaustibility, we have two types, renewable and non-renewable. Third, on the basis of ownership, we have individual, community, national and international resources. Fourth, on the basis of status of development, we have potential, developed, stock and reserves. So now on the next page, we are going to read them one by one. Here, one classification of resources have been given like under the natural. First of all, resources are given of two types like natural and human. So of course by the nature, whatever the natural resources we have, and by human man-made resources. So under the natural we have renewable and non-renewable. Under renewable we have two types, continuous and biological. Under biological again there are two types, natural and wildlife. Under the non-renewable we have recyclable and non-recyclable. Here under the human we have structures and institutions and quantity and quality. After that on the next page we have types of resources, which is having explanation about how we have different types of resources. So on the basis of origin we have biotic resources, it means living things, and abiotic means non-living things. On the basis of exhaustibility, renewable, which we use again and again, which we can reproduce again and again, just like solar and wind energy. Non-renewable, after use them they are going to be finished, we are not going to use them in a long way. It get exhausted with their use. So just like we have some example like fossil fuels and minerals. After that, on the basis of ownership, individual, of course, individual means like personal property. If any farmer have any land, so that is his individual resource. Community owned resources like we have public parks, picnic spots. So all these places, all the people of the community, they have the right. So of course, those resources are known as the community owned resources. After that, we have the natural resources. In any country, whatever resources are available throughout the country, so that is the personal property of that country, that nation. So of course those resources are known as that country national resources. Like forest is there, wildlife is there, minerals, water resources. Fourth, we have international resources like various more than one country. They have the control on some natural resources. So that is known as the international resources. So just like here example is be given about the ocean. So of course ocean is not a personal property of any country, any one country. So all the countries, whatever resources they are getting through the ocean, so all the countries they have proper rights. So these resources are known as the international resources, where many of the countries they have right on these resources. After that, on the basis of status of development, we have potential resources, developed resources, stock and reserves. So under the potential resources, of course, those natural resources which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but due to any problem, anything, human is not going to use them. So that those resources are coming under the potential resources. Like example, in Rajasthan and Gujarat, we have a lot of wind and solar energy, but we are not going to use them. Next, we have developed resources. On the basis of quality and the quantity wise, we have sufficient this kind of resources to utilize them, but development or to use them is totally depend on the technology and the level of their feasibility. Next, we have the stock. Of course, in the stock we have those materials which have the those things in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but due to lack of technology, we don't know how to use the technology, proper technology. Because of that, these resources are not being in our use. Next, last one, we have reserve. So reserve is a subset part of the stock, and here we know the technique, know how, and we know how to use it, but the use has not been started because we are going to save these things for our future generation. Things means natural resources. After that, we have development of resources. What is the need to develop our resources? For this, some we have to give some reasons why day by day we are depleting our natural resources. For this, three reasons I will mention here. First, depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of few individuals. Second, we have accumulation of resources in few hands. Due to accumulation of this kind of resources only in few hands, our society is divided into two parts, rich and poor, and the haves and the have-nots. Or next, third one, we have indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to global ecological crisis also. So when we are not using our resources in a proper way, so of course it creates a problem. It is very harmful for our global ecological crisis are going to be rise, and because of that we are facing the problem global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, and land degradation. After this, we have the Earth Summit about Rio in 1992 in the Brazil, the main city Rio de Janeiro. First International Earth Summit was held. In this, they were all the 100 countries they were assembled there to discuss the environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. There also they adopted the principles of all the different points they adopted in Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in the 21st century. Sustainable development means to use the natural resources judiciously and to save them for future generations. Here, after that, Agenda 21 on the same place, like United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, UNCED, which took place at Rio de Janeiro, the same place, Brazil, in 1992. Their main aim is to achieve the global sustainable development, and for this purpose, in this agenda also they combine environmental damage, poverty, disease through global cooperation on common interests. So these kind of topics will also be discussed, and all the countries, when they're coming back to their nation at the national level, they are going to make their own Agenda 21. As we all know that different countries, they have their different kind of problems. Next, we have resource planning. Of course, there is a need of resource planning to use these natural resources judiciously. For this purpose, of course, we very well know in India, the things or the natural resources which is be distributed by the God, of course, whatever we have got by the God, so they are not be given in a proper or the equal way or in a proper ratio. In some places, we have a lot of resources, natural resources like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh. Here we have natural resources, and in some places we don't have. Same for the Rajasthan. Same this we can say, like in some places we have more solar energy and wind energy, in some places we don't have. In some places we have water resources, and in some places we don't have. So in this way, of course, to maintain the balance of these natural resources, our resource planning is very important, and this kind of resource planning should be at this national level, state level, and regional as well as the local levels is very important, because throughout the national level, of course, we found natural resources. Throughout the state, we found natural resources. On the regional level, also we found natural resources, and at the local levels also we found natural resources. After that, we have resource planning. How we are going to do the resource planning? First, we have identification. First, we have to identify anything that it is a resource or not. So this we are going to do through the surveying, through the mapping, through the qualitative and quantitative measures. After this, second, after find out that that thing is a resource, then we are going to use technology. And third, we are going to match the resource development plans with overall national development plans. After that, next we have we are going to read about the colonization period. About it is mentioned that how the other countries also in search of the natural resources, they come to in our country as well as to the other countries, and they really exploited those countries. They take all the natural resources with them, and they become rich, and these countries become poor. After that, we have conservation of resources. As we very well know, of course, conservation of resources is very important, because if you have the resource, so in this way, after doing hard work, you can improve your condition, you can earn money, your living standard is going to be improved, and you are going to get the development also in your life. So here also some line is mentioned about like the Gandhiji. Gandhiji said one line here that there is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed. So of course, Earth has sufficient natural resources to satisfy every person's need, but not the greed of anyone. So day by day, due to greedy and selfish nature, we are exploiting the nature. and which is going to be very harmful for all of us. Next we have the land resources. So now we are going to understand how the land resources is be divided. So here one pie chart is be given. According to that we can easily understand. 43% if you are going to see on the earth, or in especially in India, so 43% we have the plain area, 30% we have the mountainous areas, and 27% we have the plateau area. So of course according to that we are going to understand what is the importance of this. So on the plains, of course, agriculture, construction of roads, building is the we can do these things on this land. On the plateaus, minerals, most of the minerals we found, and on the mountains. On the mountains we have like the tourism is be possible there, and a lot of perennial rivers also flows here. So this kind of benefit we are getting through the mountains. And 27% plateaus we have, and the plateau region we very well know it possesses rich reserves of minerals, fossil fuels, and forests. After that, here land utilization is given. Under the land utilization, first is forest. Of course, on the land, if you are going to see the land, on the land we have forest. Second, we have land not available for cultivation like barren and wasteland, which is not be used for any kind of cultivation. Next, we have land put to non-agriculture uses like buildings, roads, factories, etc. Under this, those piece of land which is not used for any agriculture property or any agriculture activity. So on that land, we are going to use this kind of land to construct buildings, roads, factories. Third, we have other uncultivated land, excluding fallow land. So here we have permanent pastures or grazing land which is used to feed the cattle. Second, we have land under miscellaneous tree crops. In some areas we grow trees. And the C is cultivable based land. Cultivable based land is a piece of land which is going to left uncultivated for more than 5 agricultural years. It means throughout these 5 agricultural years, we are not going to do any kind of farming on that piece of land. Fourth, we have fallow land. Fallow land is divided into 2 parts. First, we have the current fallow, the land which is in which we are not going to do any agriculture 1 or less than 1 year. And second, we have other than current fallow, the land which we are going to leave uncultivated for the at least 1 to 5 agricultural years. Next, we have net sown area. So of course, area sown more than once in an agricultural year, it is known as net sown area. Plus net sown area is known as gross crop area. After that, here we have the land use pattern in India, that what kind of land is be used throughout the whole country. Next, we have the according to that in which areas what kind of land we have, about it whole descriptions be given. We have what kind of land we have, like the arid desert areas we have. So those areas we use for constructing roads, railways, industry, because in this area agriculture is not be possible. After that, land degradation and conservation measures have been given. Day by day the quality of land is going to be degraded because of human activities. And like of course land is a natural resource, so of course whatever we are getting from our past generation we have to give to our next future generations. So for this of course conservation is very important. If we are not going to conserve all these natural resources, so we are not able to give these things to our future generation. Already I had explained all these topics in a very deep way in my other videos. So if you want to watch it, just please watch it so that your all doubts are going to be clear. This is a revision video, that's why I'm going to explain only the important lines or important paras. Even land is also going to be degraded through the human activities as well as the nature activities. So day by day, just like the over irrigation is be there, so the land becomes saline and alkaline, and that's why on that piece of land we are not able to do agriculture. The crop is not going to be grown. Same for the like human activities like deforestation. Day by day we are cutting the trees. Overgrazing is there, mining is there, quarrying is there. So these all our activities are responsible for land degradation. So these lines are important. After that, here again it is mentioned that other things like the limestone, if we are grinding of limestone for cement industry and calcite, and soapstone for ceramic industry, generate huge quantity of dust in the atmosphere. This is also a reason for that our land is going to be degraded. After that, again, to sort out these problems, we have afforestation. Afforestation is that we are going to plant more trees, and proper management of grazing can also help to us to conserve this land. Planting of shelter beds. So this in the last para we are going to read. Here the solution is be given how we are going to control the land degradation. If we are going to like this from the factories, chemicals and the waste is going to be discharged. So before of discharge, we are going to give a proper treatment so that it also reduce the land degradation. After that, soil is a resource is be mentioned here. Here soil profile diagram is be mentioned. Like first we have the topsoil, the upper soil layer. Next we have subsoil, rather rock sand and silt clay. Third we have substratum, weather parent rock material, and fourth layer we have unweathered parent bedrock. Next, move to the next page. Here, of course, it is mentioned about the classification of soils, that due to different chemical properties, the soil color or the soil, different kind of soils we found throughout the whole country. It is totally based on the soil formation, color, thickness, texture, age, chemical and physical properties. So on the basis of this, we have different kind of soils in India. Let's see all kind of soils. We have total 6 types of soils. So one by one we are going to read. First we have the alluvial soil, and alluvial soil, of course, it is the fertile soil of the India. It's on the northern plains we found this soil, and this soil formed by the river systems of the India, especially in the northern plains like the Indus, Ganga and the Brahmaputra. Also this soil we found some areas of Rajasthan and Gujarat also. Here next we have the soil is if you are going to see the soils, such soils are more common in Piedmont plains such as Chors and Tarain area. After that, it is the alluvial soil is also divided into two parts. Or we have old alluvial soil which is known as Bangar, and we have new alluvial soil which is known as Khadar. So Bangar is the old alluvial soil which is less fertile than the Khadar. It means Khadar is more fertile because it contains fine particles, and Bangar contains conquered. Because of that, this soil is not be so more fertile in comparison of the Khadar one. Next we have the about the alluvial soil, what kind of chemicals, what kind of composition we have under the alluvial soil, like potash, phosphoric acid, lime, and it is also added for the growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat and other cereal and pulse crops. After that, it is over. So now next move to the black soil. Black soil is also very important soil of India, and it is black in color. It is also known as regal soil. It is also known as black cotton soil because in this soil is ideal for growing cotton. This soil is formed and by the lava, and this soil we found in the Deccan Trap or the Deccan Plateau, especially the areas of Maharashtra, Saurashtra. After that, on the page number 9, we have this map work, and here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all 6 types have been mentioned of the soil. Like the forest and mountain soil we found especially on the mountainous place like the Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh. Here also like Sikkim or Arunachal Pradesh. So some areas is we mentioned here where we found this soil. After that, we have alluvial soil, especially the northern place like the UP. We have Bihar, we have Punjab, we have so Uttar Pradesh. In these areas, we found this kind of soil, red and yellow soil. We found in the areas of like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. So and next we have the black soil which we found in Maharashtra, Gujarat. So these are the important. Madhya Pradesh also, and laterite soil we especially found in the sites of like Odisha, we found Tamil Nadu. So all these states we have to remember laterite soil. Already we have the arid soil we found in the areas of the Rajasthan. After we move to the next, this black soil also contains, it is having a good capacity to hold moisture. So sometimes questions coming like this also. It also contains in soil nutrients like calcium carbonate, magnesium, potassium, and lime. After that, red and yellow soil, we have red and yellow soil. Of course, two color is mentioned here. So this soil is formed on crystalline igneous rocks in areas of low rainfall, and especially the Deccan Plateau, the southern parts of the Deccan Plateau. Here also this soil we found on the Odisha, Chhattisgarh, southern parts of the Middle Ganga plain. And this soil reddish color due to its diffusion of iron. It looks like a red color when iron is going to be diffused, and it looks yellow when it occurs in a hydrated form. Next we have the laterite soil, and laterite soil is the word is came from the Latin word later, which means brick, and this soil is developed when high temperature is there or heavy rainfall is available. And this is the result of the intense leaching due to heavy rainfall, that at the same time we have high temperature as well as the heavy rain. So humus content of this soil is very low because many of the microorganisms killed here. So now because of that we have to add some manures and fertilizers to increase the fertility of this soil, and this soil we found in the areas of Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh, and the hilly areas of Odisha and Assam. This soil is very good or be found in the Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. It is very useful for growing tea and coffee. Next we have the arid soil, which is also known as sandy soil or dry soil, and this soil we have in a various colors like red to brown in color, and it is sandy in texture and saline in nature. Because saline in nature contains salt, that's why in this soil we are not able to do farming or do agriculture. For this purpose, of course, we have to do some treatment. We have to give some treatment, as well as we have to give some to add manure, chemicals, fertilizers, so that the fertility of the soil is going to be recovered, and by that, through the proper irrigation, we are able to do farming or agriculture in this kind of soils. Forest soil, of course, we found in the hilly and mountainous areas, and here we have sufficient rain forests are be available, and different kind of crops we can grow here. So of course it is also very important kind of soil. After that we have soil erosion, soil conservation. So of course when the top layer of the soil which contains humus, when it is going to be eroded by human activity or by the nature activity, it is known as the soil erosion. Like the human activities like deforestation, overgrazing, construction, mining, all are mentioned here, and natural forces like wind, glacier and wind lead to soil erosion. After that, gullies are be mentioned here. The running water, when it cuts through the clay soils and make deep channels, it is known as gullies. After that, it becomes a badland which is not be used for cultivation. Next, we have the sheet erosion. Sometimes the water flows as a sheet over large areas, and because of that, the top soil is washed away. So this is known as sheet erosion. After that, now we are going to discuss about what kind of methods we can use to conserve our soil. So here, different methods are be given, like the contour plowing. Next we have after contour plowing we have the terrace farming, then strip cropping is be mentioned, and next we have the shelter beds. With this also we have some other method like afforestation is be there. So different methods is be mentioned, because by using those methods we can conserve our soil, and we know when soil is going to be conserved, so of course farming is be possible, agriculture is be possible, which is of course is going to help to us to earn our livelihood. So now thank you everyone, and please like, share and subscribe my channel.